you could almost mark when I started getting stronger and getting my life back together with when my older son, started falling apart. It coincided with the entrance of a person who would become his stepmother and also his first girlfriend, who were both destructive people, destructive personalities in his life. A lot of things, too soon, too young for him. And then after this custody thing happened, he had discovered drugs and he had discovered heroin for the first time. We did everything that there was to do, and we took action. He did inpatient treatment at, top treatment centers, and got him psychiatric care and all this stuff. Nothing really helped. Hoping that we could get him enough time just away from the drugs and away from the chaos and drama and all that, and just clean time for his brain to just grow and mature. And then hopefully we would just wait it out. He would get older, and then he would just hopefully escape. We would be lucky. But that wasn't to be. I had done a lot of work on myself and really sort of stepped out of the drama, but there were certain legalities that kept it so that I couldn't step out completely. So for instance, when I remarried and the boys were living with us, but I couldn't move to a fresh new place. I had to stay within 30 miles of their father and the rest of the family. And I couldn't protect them from whatever would be said when they were with their family. And it was always something against me, always some kind of lies or just little gossip, little jabs. They can't change directions, of course, because they're narcissists, and so they can't admit that they've done anything wrong. They can't change, they can't grow. They just have to keep going in the same direction. And the more it proves to be wrong, the more they have to dig their heels in and just keep going that direction. I had all these hopes that there would be resolution, and the longer it went on, the more I started to understand and realized that there just never would be. My sons and I were so incredibly close. I had this near-death experience, and I just couldn't believe, there's too many things. I lived through something that I should not have lived through. It was a pure and full-on miracle that I survived. I survived, and I believed it was because my boys really needed me. And because I survived, I wasn't afraid of ever dying after that, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to survive that. We're going to be fine. And, even with these deadly drugs and stuff, there's no way that I have made it through all this terrible abuse and everything so that I would lose one of my children. But that's what happened, of course. As you know, I lost one of my children. And it's been a month now. He died a month ago. Why I am okay right now is because I had sort of done all this work on it and had gotten to a point where the universe has infinite wisdom that I don't understand. And I want him here for me. I want him here for his brother. I want him here for what he is going to do for the world. But he's done what he's supposed to do here. If he's not getting anything out of being here, I could accept it. I didn't want him here suffering, and he was suffering, and he seemed like he was really struggling. He was 20 years old, and when I say struggling, I mean life seemed really hard for him. He didn't seem like he wasn't digging his teeth into life. Really, he loved his music. That was really great, but it was like he wasn't making long-term plans to be here. I wrote it off kind of to him being an artist. I was like, he's just an artist type of person. The kids had this candlelight vigil for him, and it was out on like a moment's notice. And this whole playground filled up with people that came up to the podium one by one, or they came to the microphone one by one, and told these incredible stories about what they learned from him, and about how he was all about love, and how he moved them and touched them and affected their lives. And I had this just intense feeling that, here he was. He had left the world a better place. He had affected all these lives. And, I looked around, and there was generations of his family there. And I'm thinking, with another double, triple, quadruple the time he had, could they say that? Could they say that there were 200 people's lives that are better because of them? I can say that there's several that lives are significantly worse because of them. I felt really great about the fact that he managed to learn that, even though all of his examples, except for me, really were that. And I felt really incredible about that. And I have a certain amount of peace. I miss him. I miss him like crazy. But I have a certain amount of peace about that. you know, during that custody battle thing, I mean, he was suicidal. It was, you know, his dad was playing with his life, playing with both of the boys' lives, because he didn't care. He was just plowing through. He didn't care how depressed they were. He didn't care how much they were begging him to stop. He didn't care. He didn't care that they were on antidepressants. That the psychiatrist said he had never seen a kid so depressed as my son was at 15. He just kept plowing through, and he did not care if he committed suicide. He did not care. Now, of course, he's really, you know, playing up that how he's having such a hard time dealing with this and difficulty, and how he, you know, he just misses him so much. And I don't believe it, of course, because I know that he gambled with his life. I know that he did. He likes an opportunity for sympathy. I think that's what he likes. And if anything, he's bummed out because that was his source of narcissistic supply, because he transferred it from me to him. This was our oldest son. He was one who had Stockholm syndrome. He didn't go to his new wife. His new wife is just like him. He transferred it to my son, our oldest son. The thing I have to think about now is I have another son. I have a son that's 18, almost 19 years old. And he is struggling too. He's struggling too. Not with drugs, not like that, but he is depressed, and he is, I don't believe he's suicidally depressed. I don't believe I don't believe he would do anything like that. But I believe that he is angry, and he's scared, and he's depressed, and he's been affected negatively by a lot of things. And so I'm still in it. I'm not going to come at it from a place of fear. I'm not going to come at it from a place of being victimized. I'm coming at it from a place of being empowered, being strong, and trying to impress upon him about how much we've already proven, we've already made it through. I mean, this was the thing, is that I wanted both my sons to understand that I really believed that they'd had the hardest part of their life. Their childhoods had been really pretty rough, and life was going to get better. You know, life was going to get better once they were not under the pressure of a loveless family. You know, they could go on and form their own bonds, their own family, and they were going to look back on it and realize how tough it had been, and that they were so much better off now and free. And unfortunately, my older son didn't get there, and my younger son now is going to, you know, he really misses him. We were so close. We're going to get through to the other side, you know, of this, and there'll still be this hole there, this sadness there, and I'm not quite sure how that's going to go, how we're going to fill that up, and how we can make it so that whatever victories we can eventually get to don't feel like there's this little bit of sadness hanging over it. I don't want that to be the case. The thing that I kind of wanted to say here is just that what I know from my own experience and from working with people is that the narcissist is really bad. I mean, just really, really bad. If their other parent is caught in the pain of being victimized, they can't do much for the kids. And then what happens is childhood emotional neglect syndrome. And I do not doubt that my sons have some time where that they did have to definitely experience that, because they couldn't be narcissistically abused at one house and neglected and everything else that went along with that at one house, and then come to my house almost homeless, I'm penniless, I'm disabled, the financial abuse is just terrible. I have none of the resources that I need to try and make a comfortable life for us, and it was no kind of a fair and equitable divorce. And then, of course, they don't have the community and family support around them that I had hoped that they would have. So I think that I was pretty good about always being aware of sort of what our situation was in terms of them really only having me, and that they were the kid, and that I needed to give them the impression that I had it under control, and that they could feel confident in my ability to get us through, and let them see you as their parent, being strong and hopeful, and not, really keeping your emotionalism in front of them, really down to a minimum. And I'm not even saying in front of them. I mean, really heal yourself, really work on yourself, and make it real and authentic, because they'll be able to tell. And I'm definitely not saying to be phony and hide things from them. I'm not saying that at all. And of course, I know that this gets to be a really tricky thing too, because when you have another parent like this, it's a fine line between between being honest and then not wanting to talk about their other parent. And so that was always a tricky dance that I was trying to do, and I'm not sure that I did it completely right, but I don't think I did it that terrible either. I mean, I tried to be available to answer as many questions as possible to validate what they wanted to tell me. I did tell my son about their father's diagnosis. My elder son, I told him about their father's diagnosis. I'm not sure I should have done that either. I stand behind pretty much all the decisions I've made, I think. But it was because he was the one that was so wanting his love, and he was the one that had the trauma bond so strongly that I had to tell him something to let him know that it wasn't about him, that his father was just going to have a hard time giving him what he needed. And so, and I tried to let him know why it wasn't personal. To understand that, you have to understand that your parent can't love you, and at what point that gets to be a relief is a personal thing. I mean, it was a relief to me finally to understand that, oh, this isn't about me. There's nothing I'm going to be able to do. They just can't love me. They just can't love. Period. It was a relief finally, but I was a lot older. I was in my middle 30s. I couldn't save my son, but I partly do believe that he was an old soul. Maybe he wasn't supposed to be here a long time. I don't know. And that's an incredible thing for me to say. I certainly would have wanted him here a long time, that's for sure. But to say at this point why everything happened the way that it did. But what this message is about healing yourself so you can heal your kids, because that's really what has to happen. They have to have one healthy parent, and it has to be you. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.